My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. This is criminal zoning. The entity's shining the fake sun on me. Ontario fires crossing path with lights and sirens. Those are demons. And they're monitoring. This is at 537 North Euclid Avenue at 8:30 a.m. That's criminal activity that the Ontario Fire Department, Michael GERKEN, are engaging in its facilitation. Recall the documentation yesterday on Euclid Avenue where the people of the state are maintaining a white truck on the opposite side of the same street where the fake sun is present, where it's over me right now at 8:30. Pay attention to the entity. Stop sounding sirens after they cross path with me, okay? And the fake sun remains stationary, doesn't remain in movement, in motion over that fire truck. This is the identification of targeting me under that fake sun that is shining, and it's still over this same Bethel congregation as I'm showing you at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's still over me at this same intersection with Southwest Airlines is gang stalking by flying over me at Bethel congregation, this same corner after 6 p.m. Michael GERKEN is engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder with the people of the state. Third-party license plate, engaging in criminal summoning and furtherance of murder. 9NKY684, 9AJY206, 93334G3, 6KAW487, 85131Y1, 92466Y1, license plate 9RXF359, license 6UKU165, 9WJT06T, license plate 8MKF418, license 7YWK600, This is P.O.C. Criminal summoning is a criminal act relevant to what are demons who are monitoring. And what is very creepy is that they're demons that are monitoring in emergency vehicles. 72201V1. They're engaged in psychopathic pacing, actually. They're mentally ill. And they're also corrupt while they're engaging in criminal surveillance under the guise of providing emergency services, having authority under the law, engaging in anything that is benefiting the entity, while they are actually engaged in the direct opposite in a deranged manner, which is facilitation regarding the conspiracy to commit murder. The demons are right now sounding sirens incessantly while the fake sun is over the Hermandad, the Bethel congregation. This is the same location it is at 1:12 in the afternoon, November 25th, 2025. That is the scientific evidence regarding the criminal conduct that you're listening to, because criminal activity is audible, criminal activity is visible, light activity, criminal activity is relevant to what is present, and it's criminal presence in the path, including by Michael Gerken, the Ontario Fire Department. License 7XTR382, that's a white woman, gang stalking. License plate 8V DB029 7ZAR367, license 7JJM770, 9UVJ441, stalking, Student Transportation of America, 8BAL914, a threat to minor children, by the way, conspiring murder and engaging in federal stalking with minors. License plate 8LRP989, license 8LCR421, 7XRS963, 10756K3, 8JHF234, 9HWY867. Omnitrans is engaged in psychopathic pacing through a business, profiting off of criminal surveillance, maintaining public transportation, and incentivizing stalkers to come in close presence with me, stalking in the path. And this is where the entity is indeed stalking as an airport. This is the public corruption, the entity that has conspired my murder by gang stalking. And this is the city of Ontario that's going to be gutted out. You'll see the entity stalking in the path, where they're sounding sirens, where the fake sun is over me, where the Ontario International Airport maintains no flights, where you're engaging in nothing other than cartwheels over the street, where you're doing so where the fake sun is remaining, where the people of the state are stalking with impossible light, where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. So is the Ontario International Airport, that also shares in every kidnapping that I've been subject to. That airport is also being shut down. This is P.O.C. All right, not only am I documenting, understand Starbucks, 507 North Euclid Avenue is monitoring me. While the entity sounds sirens, it's audible activity. Everybody is monitoring right now. This is the pattern of conduct. ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, Bethel Congregation 536 North Euclid Avenue, Hermandad, these are the venues that are adjacent, 534 North Euclid Avenue, the Truth and Love Ministries, 531 North Euclid Avenue, the Empire Publishing, the Lavish Oak that has no customers that engage in criminal summoning, they're monitoring. License 8AKV165, everybody that's crossing path. This is the same population that's crossing path under a fake sun and engineer light swimming across the sidewalk and up the wall. These are the demons that are gang stalking while I'm inside of a hotel room and they're driving on the street, and the shadows of their vehicles are appearing inside of my hotel room. My shadows moving across on the inside of a room inside of my hotel room. These are the demons that are doing the same thing using fire trucks. All right, that is speaking to what is criminal activity that's occurring through the use of emergency vehicles. Those are the emergency vehicles and the positions that the demon possessors are going to be removed from. Michael Gerken is engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder. He's been engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder for as a matter of my documentation as of 2018, since I've been documenting this entity as a matter of evidence. Okay, this is the Ontario Fire Department committed kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department, who are being disbanded. They did so with American Medical Response, and they're engaged in criminal activity. And it is a high form of malice with regard to what is gang stalking as a fire department, threatening the life of an American citizen, psychologically torturing them, sexually violating them. It's the same engineer light on a fire truck. All right, and by on a fire truck, I mean those are lights on the trucks, those lights on these vehicles, street lamps, entity that maintains any form of light, a light on a bicycle, that's not causing the multiple shadows. You're looking at the illusion in your face. You see the source of light, and the engineer light is what's all over the place. You see the fake sun, and the engineer light is what's all over the place. These are demon-possessed people, including those that are operating emergency vehicles, okay? So I just want to be clear. Let me speak to, you'll see the images on the Google Drive. First of all, this is representing the corrupt actor Michael Gerken, a domestic terrorist leader. Ontario Fire is crossing path. It's criminal activity, number one. It's the P.O.C. It's under the fake sun. My evidence shows the fake sun is over me on this same street at 6 o'clock in the evening.
over me on this same street, okay? You're stalking, it's criminal conduct, we're already within the P.O.C. Second of all, you're engaging in facilitation, doing so as a so-called authority figure, okay? You're doing so while you're conspiring by murder and while documentation is underway. This is all legally relevant, what I'm referring to right now. They're engaging in furtherance of murder. They're doing so while the pattern of conduct is underway by a population who are monitoring me while that massive means of facilitation, lights, sirens, and crossing paths by the government, which is represented by the City of Ontario, that is gang stalking the Ontario Fire Department, Michael GERKEN. The entity crosses path, sirens stop sounding after they cross path, after they drive by F Street, drive north on F Street. Omnitrans, gang stalking, license plate 1535707, bus 1362. Gang stalking me with the terrorists that want to come and be right next to me. That's how obsessed with me they are. They're not waiting for the bus, they're stalking. These are the demons that want to cloak themselves as being normal, cloak themselves as being in traffic, cloak themselves as filling up their gas tank, cloak themselves as buying coffee at Starbucks, cloak themselves as being engaged in what is fellowship at church. And they're all stalking, okay? All of them are stalking. The inexplicable environment that I'm showing you from place to place to place, because there is no discrimination with regard to the engineer light. It's everywhere, at all places, at all times. They're all demons and they're all stalking, gang stalking. This is P.O.C. and it's public corruption. The entity crosses path with engineer like I was stating. Sirens end after they cross path at F Street, and then they persist down north on Euclid Avenue. The entity is, as I begin documenting, the entity maintains the sound of sirens, okay? And the entity is engaged in what is amplification. This is very much demonic. So I'm going to break this down to you again, because you see the fire truck or you see the police vehicle and you hear the sirens and you see the lights, and then you see the vehicle drive by. The entity is maintaining what is an illusion before you. There is a disconnection in reality. What you're looking at is the illusion, and you are automatic. You're not crazy because you're doing that, and you're absolutely logical. You are absolutely normal to assume that that's the sound from the vehicle that you're looking at with the lights that we know have sirens. But the entity is maintaining, this is witchcraft. These are demons that are monitoring, and this is a supernatural environment, which I'm proving to you with tangible evidence, as we're logically looking at it and reasoning together. Not the sun, not sunlight, the light activity, thus not the natural environment, okay? That's very logical in the deductions that you make from that. It's the same thing with regard to the illusions that demons operating emergency vehicles are presenting to you. The entity is engaging in what is criminal summoning, using lights and sirens, and it's actually criminal facilitation and furtherance of murder. It's federal stalking under Title 18, and it is a matter of public corruption. The entity is engaging in that in your face, and as the entity drives by, the entity is maintaining amplified sound of sirens. So I just want to be clear, the entity is surrounding me with the sound of sirens, and it is not necessarily even requiring actual sirens by vehicles to be on you. I need you to understand that, okay? That's the reality of the system. That's the reality of what the demon-possessed are doing, okay? They are also very much stalkers. So you have demons that are stalking in ambulances. They park on sides of the roads. They park in parking garages on dark streets, behind in relevant position on the opposite side of this building, of this bus stop where I'm at the opposite end, sitting, stalking in the Starbucks parking lot, sitting, it's gang stalking behind the ARCO, sitting and gang stalking in the shopping plaza at the Pizza Hut where the WSS shoes are, with regard to what is monitoring me and sounding their sirens. They're literally stalking, but the entity is engaged in these are demons, and they maintain an illusion as though the train is heard inside of Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments. That's not the actual train. That's what I mean by that. And they are also both actually stalkers who are physically driving by you and sounding their sirens. Everything is amplified in sound. They're demons. So I want to break that down for you. With regard to the legal analysis, you're prosecuting for the elements of monitoring. They want to use illusions, you're going to prosecute and diagnose them with their own illusions. You kept a fake son over me, and you're going to be put in a mental asylum for it. A whole population of people are agreeing and engaging in this together because they are all crazy. And they're crazy, their mental illness, in other words, is because they're demon-possessed. And so now you're able to prosecute with regard to their demented pattern of conduct, which is directly indicative of a severe mental instability that is shared by a population. And that's nobody's imagination. I just want to be clear on that. That was an iteration of criminal summoning. It's currently 8:41 a.m. The entity is engaging in that conduct with the airport. You'll see all the images of the P.O.C. All right, and the entities gang stalking with regard to the people of the state that are keeping one person together under surveillance. It's both pathetic and highly criminal, and it's also very threatening that you have so many people who are crazy and who are in agreement to engage in that. It is the work of Satan. It's the work of Satan. So this is the P.O.C. Where the entity is indeed engaged in criminal summoning is where the airport is also stalking. Like I stated, you already knew that before Michael GERKEN engages in what is criminal summoning using a fire truck. There's no airport takeoffs, there are no flights hovering over, and that is already established. The entity is mentally ill to even continuously engage in it. 9MZX068. This is P.O.C. All right, it is 537 North Euclid Avenue. The entity is engaging in criminal summoning while the City of Ontario is engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. 6KWB 504 is included in that. Every business, all right? And the evidence of the P.O.C. has already prosecuted not only the City of Ontario, but the state of California. And it's relevant to what the U.S. government is doing throughout this country. And the implications are, and the evidence is showing that this is international with regard to terrorism that the United States shares in betraying its own American citizens with the people of the state who are American citizens, whether they're those given a privilege to be here, immigrants who are supposed to be absorbing themselves into the United States, into American society. They are coming to this country and engaging in terrorism against American citizens. And this is terrorism that's shared abroad. So that's also what the P.O.C. is revealing. It is currently, and that's also relevant with regard to federal stalking. Interstate commerce is implicated with regard to stalking in helicopters, stalking using the train, stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking using commercial planes, crossing state lines, engaging in using the internet, criminal surveillance. All of this is implicating what is also international, what is also state to state, federal. So I just want to be clear on that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:43 a.m. on, by the way, Monday, January 5th, 2026. License 8NDK091. This is Asian American. I just want to be clear, it's implicating what are potential immigrants. Gang stalking, they're monitoring, stopping relevant position, and also stopping at the venue. I also want to document the venue as well. 527 North Euclid Avenue. This is the, Viet American Weekly. I just want to get to what is relevant for deporting those that are gang stalking and they are not American citizens, monitoring me under the guise of dropping somebody off that's causing for the same light activity. This is where the fake sun is at. You're getting beyond the superficial veil. 62439S3 is monitoring me while these demons that are potential immigrants are engaging in the pattern of conduct. Demons that are monitoring with regard to everything that I'm doing as I'm packing up my property, as I'm moving around. The demons are engaging, and that's what the Ontario Fire Department are doing as I'm getting up. They're doing that on a greater scale with regard to the use of emergency vehicles. They're doing that when you're parking your vehicle across the street, leaving the hazard lights on. They're doing that as they are stopping and going on at the traffic lights, using their brakes on their vehicles. They're doing that while they are stopping for the bus stop. The bus Omnitrans is monitoring, same light activity. These are all different ways that you're accomplishing the same thing. Okay, they're doing that when they're walking in the engineer light on the sidewalk and the fake sun is shining on me. They're accomplishing the same purpose. It's light activity with regard to monitoring what I'm doing. I'm packing up. That's what demons are doing. They're monitoring every move, and that's what you're aware of. They're monitoring your genitalia, everything, including your genitalia. Okay, that's P.O.C. It's currently 8:47 a.m. It's the same P.O.C. It's demons of American medical response that want attention. It's negative attention. These are suicidal demons. So suicidal people who are demon possessed, in other words. American medical response also has no legitimacy whatsoever. They are clearly stalkers, and they're stalking me in multiple other cities and counties as well, under the fake sun, stalking with impossible light. They are crossing path again, sharing in what the Vietnamese Americans are engaging in. But I just want to be clear, you're not an American gang stalking. But nonetheless, the Vietnamese Americans gang stalking me right here. The Ontario Fire Department sounding sirens, engaging in that. The City of Ontario gang stalking with their admission to to criminal activity with American medical response, who is being publicly exposed, and they're out of a job. They will not be driving ambulances. In other words, gang stalking. The City of Ontario is not even going to have a fire department. So you have psychopaths pacing in the engineer light in front of me at the bus stop. You have the demons that are monitoring while AMR is engaged in the same conduct of the Ontario Fire Department, stalking in the path with light. Okay, this is P.O.C. These are mentally ill people. So the shopping cart in the background, that's a demon pacing. A demon that is standing in front of me like they're looking for something, turning back around after they walk, that's a demon pacing. The demons on the roads and highways on Euclid Avenue, those are demons that are pacing. These are mentally ill people who are demon possessed. They're monitoring. P.O.C. Alrighty, it is, by the way, 8:50 a.m. And these are the demon possessed that are of all races, okay? Just want to make sure that you understand that demon possession is identified through behavior in the environment. You know them by their deeds, not you know them by their race, okay? Not you know them by how much money they make or what neighborhood that they live in. You know them by their deeds, okay? These are demons and they are of all color creeds. All right, American Medical, this is literally boring. I'm bored, okay? American Medical Response these are demons that are engaging in desperate conduct, obvious conduct, 9 PSF 748 included. These demons' job is stalking me, and they lost at their job. They can't even do that competently, and they're being prosecuted severely. Okay, they're being kicked out of the country. They're being removed from position, and it's going to be a matter of public information because you're going to be humiliated upon removal from office. You're also engaging in criminal conduct, which is not accepting you from a prosecution. The entities engaging in where the facts and circumstances stand, you will see officials being prosecuted, conspiring by murder, like the city of Ontario, for example, spending millions of dollars with the municipality keeping me under surveillance. Keeping me and my genitalia under surveillance, spending a lot of money in doing so. That's criminal activity. It's not just irresponsible and money that's spent with regard to having to do with corrupt. Oh, no. It's money spent in furtherance of a conspiracy to commit murder. This is criminal activity that is a matter of my documentation. Every vehicle, every City of Ontario venue, every employee of the city, all the ways in which the City of Ontario is gang stalking, including the fire department, police department, and American Medical Response, and the airport. This is relevant to the criminal activity of the City of Ontario. 30571 Edward 4. And American Medical Response are demons who are engaging in what is obvious. It's as obvious as the entity maintaining an ongoing beeline regarding plane activity on this street. Why do you provide that level of evidence to somebody that's prosecuting you and the prosecution is already complete? When you've already, in other words, lost your endeavor to secretly target someone and then depict their character as imagining all of it. Why would you engage in what is stalking somebody for an hour, flying in circles over them by helicopter, when it is clearly evidence of targeting that no one, including those that are witnessing it as it's published on the internet, going to state that is the source of someone's imagination? Because these are demons who are suicidal. These are demon-possessed people first. They are mentally ill first. And then you're looking at their behavior, which is criminal. And it's a matter of corruption because it's the government. That's where you get to this foolish behavior, which I'm going to use every single last ounce of it against them in a court of law. Okay? The entities engaging, I just want to be clear, I'm holding court right now on the internet. They've already been prosecuted. There is no controversy in the tribunal. And this is absolutely necessary when the entity is using gang violence to defame you, using gang violence to murder you. So we're going to hold the court case right outside, and then I'm going to take it into a courtroom where there's no controversy and there's no question. Okay? And it is literally a cinematic production, the prosecution of the U.S. government. And they reaped that. That's what they manifested. Death. They manifested poverty. They manifested mental asylums. They manifested prison. Okay, they manifested death while they're engaging in what are demonic spirits, which have driven them out of their minds. 9 UHC 961 included. Because all they're doing is harming themselves. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:53 a.m. That's the same demonic pattern of conduct regarding public corruption. American Medical Response wants to be clear that you don't forget them with regard, and nobody's forgotten them, but they want to be included in the prosecution of the U.S. government. That's already complete. Okay, other cities are being prosecuted based on the asininity of demons that are stalkers hiding behind the acronym EMT. All right, it's P.O.C. It's 8:54 a.m. License plate 5 Xavier Mary Edward 759. Also engaging in criminal summoning with the City of Ontario. License 8 Mary Wendy Paul 993. Engaging in criminal summoning with the City of Ontario. 9 Frank Bob David 406. Engaged in criminal summoning with the City of Ontario. The entity is largely committing what is relevant to the federal RICO case, transactions with Starbucks and gang stalking. which is Starbucks is an establishment that's engaged in criminal surveillance, and the evidence has already surrounded the corporation itself, and every facilitating venue that I've ever documented, all of them engaging the P.O.C., including 507 North Euclid Avenue that's committed kidnapping on July 4, 2025. This is the P.O.C. It is 9:01 a.m. license 8XDX556, criminal summoning. And, let's see, license 8 Mary Wendy Paul 993. License 6D UP 464. 9 Henry Robert Paul 218. Omnitrans Route 83 gang stalker. No sun remaining in that window. 1613-616. Bus 1224 and the fake sun remains stationary over me. Not in motion while I'm on that bus. Going Route 83 north or south. Going Route 61 east or west. Going Route 66 east or west. It's remaining right here over me after Omnitrans has crossed path. Gang stalking as a bus line and as a demon operating that bus. Doing so in furtherance of murder. Systematically engaging in the pattern of conduct. 9 PPT 268, 9 FPY 734, and that bus line is targeting me, which my evidence shows as I'm aboard those buses and while I'm not on those buses. All right, and that is again relevant to the terrorist leader Alan D. WAPNER. It is 9:03 a.m. License plate 8JHU411, I believe. Can't really see that one though. 9, I can't see that one either. 7KDR735. 9DCY213. The fake sun is blinding me, that's why. EHZ3M36, that's a paper plate. License 6HTZ261. 9VHW881. 8VPS059. 9MKB075. 35984 Edward 2. Air Gas is a gang stalker. That's a corporate actor, the third party and the demon operating that vehicle. 2 third parties as I'm documenting the commercial actors engaging what is referred to as commercial stalking. License plate in the same way that pilots that are gang stalking, the demons that are driving these commercial airline planes, it's a prosecution of the airline. That's a third party co-conspirator of murder making money. That's a RICO case in its federal prison for the demon operating that plane. All right, it's currently 9:04 a.m. This is P.O.C. License 9MQU921. And we've got Balbier of Chevron engaging in criminal summoning. Her license plate again is 9 Edward Frank Henry 194. License 9 RTA 789 P.O.C. Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue. All right, monitoring with Balbier, license 8 Frank Jerry Bob 355. And license plate, they're gang stalking at gas stall number 3. License plate 8 Nancy Sam Victor 534. And we've got one over here actually. 9 Sam Kelly Edward 710. Gang stalking at the Hermandad, where the fake sun, you can see it in the image. The fake sun's right over the building across the street from me. They're engaging in criminal summoning, and so is California Highway Patrol. Let me show you that. It's not new. They've been gang stalking me throughout California on the roads and the highways, doing so under the fake sun. And so is the United States Postal Service. This is the feds gang stalking, doing so at the Chevron where the entity has the fake sun and engage in that pattern of conduct. And just be mindful, the entity engages in the pattern of conduct in the ways in which it does, at the moment and time that it does, with regard to its criminal pattern of conduct. Satan is always telling you about himself, and so you're paying attention to who is gang stalking and when they're gang stalking and what it is pertaining to me, how it's pertaining to me. It's a matter of paying attention. Satan is very much of a blabbermouth, okay? So Satan is always telling his own secrets. It is currently 9:10 a.m. and this is P.O.C. California Highway Patrol has captured gang stalking on Euclid Avenue, doing so while the pattern of conduct is underway by California Highway Patrol. That is the California State Police, who are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, as I'm documenting them gang stalking pursuant to what is criminal summoning on the highways, on the 110 freeway where the fake sun's over me, on the 105 where the fake sun's over me, on the 405 and the fake sun's over me. And who who is in a position where they need help, that's called criminal summoning. All right, they're doing so under the fake sun, keeping me under surveillance. Those are also demons that don't have car accidents. You're monitoring me. You're a demon that's a monitoring spirit, and you know exactly whether or not I stole something inside of the Chevron. But since you like to use that as your audible activity, I'm going to prosecute you with it. It's relevant to criminal defamation, and you will rapidly be escalated from just deportation and a prosecution to prison. Okay? Balbir is already at threat of federal prison. Not threat. You're talking about federal prison. She's systematically gang stalking. She's also systematically gang stalking with the Ontario police. She's also engaged in criminal defamation on more than one occasion. USPS vehicle 7203667. And this demon's also engaged in gang stalking at the gas stall, doing so on surveillance cameras, and engaged in a transaction on camera with Balbir. It is license 9VGY830, 9TIH520. The demon that's gang stalking. He likes to go to the OVITT Family Community Library to gang stalk me while the fake son remains over me after departing from ARCO. All right, that is, in other words, ARCO coming to stalk me as opposed to me being gang stalked as I go to ARCO in relevant position to ARCO. It is under all circumstances the pattern of conduct, however. ARCO's employees are gang stalkers, just like I stated, and ARCO is going to be prosecuted with regard to the use of the venue of ARCO as a means of criminal surveillance, especially because ARCO is making money. So I'm going to prosecute the name. I'm going to prosecute the venue. I'm going to prosecute the employees. I'm going to prosecute the government for gang stalking me via ARCO, which ARCO is knowingly and intentionally and maliciously engaging in and profiting from. It is currently 9:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. That's HD Supply. HD Supply is a very heavily documented gang stalker, a terrorist. Gang stalking with the Ontario City Hall, gang stalking with Avanath Capital Management at Woodside Senior Apartments under the fake sun. You'll see it, for example, in early 2025, summer 2025, the fake sun's over Tracy Banks' apartment. At no point ever has it been since I left that apartment complex, by the way, especially while it's rising and setting on Euclid Avenue in between C Street and F Street, the bus stop where I sleep at night, and the OVITT Family Community Library where I go to during the day. The entity is maintaining the fake sun over Tracy Banks' apartment while the terrorists HD Supply are making a delivery gang stalking me with Avanath Capital Management at Unit 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments, 408 West G Street, where they're walking in engineer light making that delivery, doing so under the fake sun with the Ontario Police, the Ontario International Airport, who maintain no terminals where you're taking off and then hovering over that apartment complex. But this is the evidence that's already on the record. HD Supply is targeting while you hear audible activity, and they're creating light activity while demons are operating those commercial vehicles. That's the RICO case against every business, by the way, that's gang stalking. License 71985 Wendy 3. That's P.O.C. I didn't mean to get that. Hold on. Take a picture of the right direction. Here we go. And the demons are engaged in stalking. Stalking, when the entity's engaged in gang stalking, stalking is not a matter of chronology. So when they're under the fake sun, as it arrives at the venue, wherever you're at, over you, the entity is keeping you under surveillance. So stalkers that are, again, also intimidated and fearful and mad because of your documentation, because of your abilities, because they're not able to murder you and steal from you and secretly monitor your vagina, and everybody knows about it, do things like the pathetic demons are doing at the square, sitting at the wall, sitting in relevant position where I've been traditionally monitoring, being gang stalked, and I'm documenting the fact that the entity is monitoring. The overweight Latino male who likes to sit in my peripheral at the OVITT Family Community Library with flashing light, he's a psychopath. Stalking with light is certifiable conduct. He's very severely mentally ill. He clearly has a lot of self-esteem issues and mental health issues while he's gang stalking, and he also likes to make, again, passive-aggressive threats, speaking as his audible activity that he, quote, end quote, hits girls, but he is engaging in what is coward-like conduct, psychopathic conduct, sexually violent conduct, gang violence he needs assistance to, and he's sitting at the location where I typically sit at the Ontario Town Square as somebody that is engaging in pathetic, psychopathic, passive-aggressive, this microaggressive type conduct where I'm stalking you, and I'm doing so by sitting in the location where you typically sit, and I monitor you under the fake sun. I'm getting there before you are, while I am keeping you under surveillance as an entity. Gang stalking is not based on chronology. But that's why wherever it is that you work or you live, and I arrive, and so does that fake sun, because it's not the natural environment. And I also documented that. There's no illusion there. This is an entity that presents an illusion of sanity on their part, and it's a very poor illusion. I'm going to use their illusions to have them diagnosed and to accomplish convicting them. This is P.O.C, however. HD Supply is maintaining audible noise, criminal monitoring with the same venue where the entity is flying over the senior citizen complex, the 280 North Lemon Apartments, and they're engaging in that pattern of conduct while they are making money. HD Supply is engaged in public corruption. They're monitoring American citizens just like every other business, including Brightview. Brightview is headquartered in California. License plate 54392 Victor 1. And their business license, which has already been jeopardized, I'm going to prosecute, and you're not keeping a business license, and it's a matter of public information that you engaged in abusing it for terrorism and furtherance of murder, which is directly opposite, and it's against public policy to do that. Well, like the pattern of conduct shows, and it's going to be used to prosecute you and take that licensure. License 266211, Brightview, systematically engaged in gang stalking me and with the government, providing evidence against them. I will prosecute and take your business license while I have the government stalk me by planes and helicopters, keeping the fake sun. The P.O.C is the revocation of that licensure for terrorism, including your demon-possessed gang stalking employees. All right, that's the P.O.C who are creating activity with regard to whatever area or whatever type of work, which is activity creation in that specific environment where demons are not clever. They're going to be convicted, okay? It is currently 9:24 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square where the entity is maintaining audible noise. That's the leaf blower. Pacing, audible activity, fake sun, a bunch of demons that are stalking in the path by sitting at the location where I typically sit. So I make productive use of my time and document all the license plates. 8ZJH434, 61510Y1, and 8, hold on, license plate 8, Xavier Bob Wendy 709, P.O.C. License plate 9 Mary Zebra Kelly 741, and license, and this is Wells Fargo. License plate CV16T33. That's a paper plate on a white Honda Accord. Facilitated venue Wells Fargo at 204 North Euclid Avenue. License plate 9VYR384. License plate 9FMD502. License plate 8LLU919. License 7RQG070. 6WDG180. 9SQR222. 69589 Apple 2. P.O.C. Wells Fargo is a very heavily documented facilitating venue, monitoring me, gang stalking me, and facilitating the pattern of conduct with the people of the state, utilizing the ATM of Wells Fargo 24 hours a day to engage in light activity, surveillance, presence of the path. Doing so as a business during business hours. All of its employees are not only demons, they're gang stalking, and they're engaging in that pattern of conduct while they are also making money as employees, making money as a corrupt business, engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're also violating your privacy, in case you didn't know. Your banking information is not private. They are not abiding by the privacy laws, creating the ongoing illusion while criminal surveillance is underway. It's P.O.C. It's 9:30 a.m.
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Square, where the fake sun is present, and where demons like to admit to hitting girls and gang stalking them, okay? But you have to catch up to me first. But this is a demon that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, stalking in the path. I'm sitting on the wall. That's relevant positioning. That's audible activity. It's also a guise for pacing by demons. And you already know what they're all doing. Securitas is gang stalking. The people of the state are gang stalking. They're doing so while I sit at a bus stop and remain there. That's where the fake sun remains, at 536 North Euclid Avenue, which is on the opposite side of this apartment building, downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, where demons are pacing in and out of that garage. I already showed you the engineer light that's in that garage. They're monitoring. They're gang stalking, knowing exactly who I am. They are targeting. They're also doing so while they create a method of light, driving in and out. They're pacing in and out, targeting. They're inside of Wells Fargo stalking. They're inside of all these businesses stalking. And they're doing so while the government provides evidence against everybody. The government that is gang stalking is doing so in concert with the people of the state. This is the same location where the entity has the fake sun after 4 p.m. reflecting off of the 280 North Limit Apartments. Over me, reflecting off of the doors of the OVITT Family Community Library. Right here. This is the entity that's keeping the fake sun over my hotel room at the Ontario Airport Inn. Doing so at 9:35 in the morning. That's not going to be at the Ontario Town Square next to the clock. Under any circumstances where big boy over here is going to be sitting in any sort of sunlight, all right, or that I'm going to be coated in sunlight. The fake sun's outside of, over the roof of the Ontario Airport Inn, which is at 1801 East G Street, where Securitas is proven to be engaged in gang stalking, and this demon engaged in kidnapping. With the Ontario Police, he's going to prison. He is stalking in the path under the fake sun that is not over the roof of 1801 East G Street at 9:35 a.m. and also over the Ontario Town Square, where it remains, and you can see it reflecting off of the apartment complex and off of the window, the doors inside of that venue as I walk out after 4 p.m. This is P.O.C. The airport is stalking. That's certifiable conduct. The airport is a threat to national security, and it is going to be shut down. And this is proving what is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:38 a.m., 224 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity was stalking last night, monitoring my devices, in furtherance of murder. P.O.C. License 9 Paul Zebra Edward 914. This is a female engaging in surveillance. License plate. License 8 Xavier Robert Wendy 709. I documented that one already. License plate 7 Sam Frank George 739. 9 Robert Zebra Sam 105. Yeah, I documented that one already. 8 Robert Uncle Bob 714. These are demons engaging in surveillance, and then do so by sitting in, engaging in surveillance inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Psychopaths that are pacing. They're all pacing inside of a building. License 9VKU504, very mentally deranged behavior. And they're all together inside of a building stalking. And then you're understanding what I'm documenting outside is ongoing while I'm under surveillance inside of the building where demon-possessed people are pacing around. Every move I make, and they're all together in sync, pacing. 6GFL690. The entity is doing so with regard to what is the City of Ontario OVITT Family Community Library is a state facilitating venue, engaging in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder, and have engaged in criminal summoning and kidnapping, for which they're going to prison. License 1605617, Latino male, operating a City of Ontario vehicle. That's Paul Leon and the criminal expenditure on the conspiracy to commit murder. He's not staying in office, and he's a demon as well. License plate 7KDP981, stalking with impossible light, certifiable conduct. 4NYZ669, stalking with impossible light, certifiable conduct. Mentally ill behavior, criminal activity. 9TUA639, Latina female, stalking with impossible light. License plate 9RZS105. 7SFG, BRA9DX, that's a Arizona plate. I was looking for the one that doesn't have a front plate. All right, it's currently 10:01 a.m. and the demons are pacing into the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun is over me as I'm walking toward that entrance. And everybody in that venue is engaging in what is surveillance. They're not reporting to work to engage in any constitutionally protected conduct. It's not private speech. It's not protected under any area of the Constitution. And it's in furtherance of murder, 9WBP861. And it is concerted, mentally deranged behavior. Concerted. P.O.C. It's 10:01 a.m. and the entity is also engaging in this while the whole world is watching. P.O.C. That is indeed the fake sun. And I'm at the Page One Cafe. This is impossible light reaching underneath, not only underneath, but into the building. Very demonic, okay? City of Ontario's in here stalking, using the vehicle outside of the path. This is the pattern, stalking with light activity. And the fake, leaving a communication device for crossing path. All right, and these are demons that surround me. So anywhere that I go inside of the building, they're making sure they're present. City of Ontario, in the event, these are monitoring demons. In the event that I get up and go buy something, they're maintaining the facilitating environment. This is absolutely absurd light activity, absurd. And everybody sits around like nothing's happening. This is the mentally ill. These are demons. And not only that, it is the OVITT Family Community Library. There's no sun that's going to reach underneath this and appear on this floor. This is for the gang stalking purposes of the entity that's not ignorant. They're psychopathic while they're gang stalking in silence and as quote-unquote strangers. This is indeed the P.O.C. and the fake sun is moving as I move. It was back there through the upper portion of this window, and it's going to be in the same position that it is actually at 10 o'clock in the morning when I walk in. It's 2:35. This is crossing path, crossing path. Everybody's in the building just pacing all around me all day long, stalking and monitoring, and vagina monitoring as well. Stalking at the computer stations, taking shifts, stalking. They're not reading, they're not focused on the computers. They're monitoring my movements, monitoring my devices, and they're doing so of all ages and races. And this is impulsible light coming in a different direction underneath the covering of the entrance. Engineer light above the bathroom, sex offenders. All right, and that's Paul Leon, Alan D. WAPNER, all the demons that are going to be removed from position. And this is Engineer Light. Remember, it's catty corner into the Page One Cafe at the opposite end of this building. And this is the same entrance that I walk in at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is the fake sun rapidly moving from the back of the building to the front of the building. This is relevant to the pattern that I'm showing you at the bus stop when a demon is leaving their truck on the opposite side of the street with the flashers on. It's called light activity. That's where the fake sun, this is not shining through that window back there as I'm showing you on the inside of the building. And also, this is not going to still be stationed where Jay Sandoval and the gang members of the Ontario Police are stalking at 8:39 in the morning. This is not going to be present like it was over me at the Ontario Town Square where the Ontario International Airport are stalking as I'm showing you this during the 9 a.m. hour. This is the entity that's engaged in criminal surveillance, and the demon possessed are engaged in monitoring you, and it's centered on what is engineered light. I've shown you their unintelligent means of stalking with light in ways that you can clearly see, because it's in plain view. You just weren't paying attention that it's not the natural environment. And it's certainly not sunlight. That's not sunlight. And that's mental illness on its face. He engaged in criminal summoning with the gang members of the Ontario Police. And he was doing so at nightfall as well. This is the entity that's stalking in the path. And the entity that's engaging in this mentally ill behavior, in the same way that they're openly being crazy, people that are openly crazy, they go to mental asylums. That's what's going to happen. They're stalking with light inside of that Page One Cafe. It's reaching into that building inside of that cafe. That's terrorism. The entity that's stalking with light is monitoring you, literally chasing, molesting. This is a sex act while the government is stalking with the City of Ontario, with the employees, with the patrons, with the employees, and they committed kidnapping. 10:29 in the morning. Nobody's forgetting the fact that the Ontario International Airport likes to openly and flagrantly stalk an American citizen. That's going to be very useful when the question is whether or not they committed a kidnapping, because everybody knows the answer that they did. This is psychopathic pacing, okay? This is P.O.C. They're in engineered light. It's not the sun. It's not sunlight. This is the unintelligent, demon-possessed that are monitoring. They monitor in furtherance of murder. Not the sun. Wouldn't still be here. It's not even sunlight. It's bending underneath into buildings. It's P.O.C. Mentally ill, demons that want to be in the medical profession so that they can engage in psychological torture, sexual violence. All right, this is the pattern of conduct. The P.O.C. will be the basis of removal from the medical field and the legal field. These are demons in scrubs that are coming in pacing. They are unfit, specifically gang stalking institution, West Coast University. Okay, they have one in LA, that's a gang stalker, one in Ontario, that's a gang stalker, one in Orange County, that's a gang stalker. It's P.O.C. It is currently 2:41 p.m. That is light activity relevant for federal stalking under Title 18 regarding monitoring criminal surveillance on communication devices. And it's also the behavioral pattern of those who are demons who are engaging in what is monitoring, criminal monitoring. And they're doing so while demons like these on the roads and the highways are stalking with impossible light activity that coexists with their presence. This is the entity that's in conduct while they're maintaining impossible light activity on the wall behind me. And if you'll pay attention to the curb area, as though their headlights are going to illuminate this curb right here. It's reminiscent, if you will, of the same pattern when they're stalking under the fake sun. There's the fake moon. And they're driving through engineer light that's in the air, and you can see the engineer light illuminate that curb. Remember that? I'll highlight that video for this when you're recognizing the pattern of conduct of stalkers. And this is the phenomenon of what is a shared behavioral pattern that is supernatural in nature amongst what want to be mistaken for strangers. They're not strangers, they're demons, and they're engaged in demonic activity. This is criminal monitoring. And it's legally federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's all state action. That's the government that's engaged in what is light activity, which is a federal offense, while demons are engaged in sexual assault and battery. Those are not strangers. They're stalking together, sharing in sexual assault and battery. I want to be clear, while I'm documenting and speaking about this demon that is hostile, their co-defendant engaging in sexual assault and battery. They're all together engaged in psychopathic pacing, and they're under a fake moon engaging in what is targeting, clearly identified. That is relevant for what is disbanding for kidnapping. You're kidnapping me while you're claiming that I'm violating the municipal code while you're stalking. This is the evidence that's putting Hazelwood in prison. This is the entity, this is what he's doing, by the way, while he has a spotlight on me at 3 a.m, and these demons are pacing in the engineer light while he is bearing a badge and a gun and claiming the municipal code is the basis for what is nothing but kidnapping because federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. More information is that Hazelwood, number 21167, is a psychopath. He's a violent sex offender, and he is psychotic. He's mentally ill. That's why you saw him walking along the curb right here with the other male on the opposite side. They were on both sides of my person, pacing just like these demons are. While impossible light is moving along the curb, swimming along the curb, projected behind on the wall behind me, while I have what are multiple shadows on the ground. Let me show you that light activity. Where you're not engaged in anything regarding law enforcement, you're engaged in criminal surveillance. And because you wear a police uniform and engage in that malicious conduct, stalking me wearing a police uniform, you're going to prison. The people of state are also going to prison. This is who the gang stalking police officers rely on when they claim they got a call. And that's why they're in your presence, engaging relevant positioning, speaking to you, creating light activity while they're monitoring you in furtherance of murder. This is at 537 North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. That's the same pattern that you saw during the day. The entity leaving the white pickup truck with their hazard lights on, they just parked it there and left the hazard lights on. They had it for over an hour monitoring me. This is all psychopathic pacing under the fake moon. It's not a coincidence that this is where the fake sun is. It's also not a coincidence that this is where the airport is stalking. There are no flights coming from the terminals that are including over this sky space, nor hovering, nor engaging in any sort of nuisance conduct like the plane activity. They're stalking with the people of the state, and they're all demons. This is a comprehensive and complete federal prosecution, establishing precedent for what is proven. No conspiracy theory regarding demon possession, no conspiracy theory regarding demons in government, no conspiracy theory regarding gang stalking. Federal group stalking and monitoring is what is referred to as, and the entity is going to be prosecuted as the domestic terrorists that they are. Gang stalkers are demons, and they are also domestic terrorists who are a violent, potent threat to the United States of America. They're an enemy to your constitutional human rights. And you need to understand that the nature of that enemy is satanic. And that satanic enemy, which is a criminal under the law, hates you and hates your livelihood, hates the fact that you are breathing, and literally desires to take your life. That's why you have a population gang stalking. They're demon possessed. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 9:57 p.m. That's the pattern of conduct. This is my shadow upright on the wall. These are my shadows down on the floor beneath me, more than one. Okay, this is the P.O.C. where I'm subject to what is surveillance by a population that has conspired my murder. All right, and that's not explained away by artificial light. Their headlights are not projecting onto me, causing my shadow to swim up here on the wall aside behind me. These are demons that are stalking, and they're all targeting together. And that's psychopathic. And this is mental illness that is shared, and it's also proven and exhibited by a population together. And this is requiring what is the basis of martial law, P.O.C.
That is the sexual assault and battery coexisting with stalking by the Ontario Police Department. That's their co-defendant that they engage in criminal summoning with. They're demons under the fake moon, which is over me. The previous video, you see it over the tree. This is the entity that's engaging in stalking together, and the entity is stalking by the Ontario Police Department, who are sending helicopter activity. Okay, they're doing so while they are monitoring with the people of the state, who are roaches, maintaining ongoing perpetual presence around me, stalking, and they're doing so 24 hours a day. They're doing so while they like to use helicopter activity as a means of what is stalking that one person that they've also engaged in what is conspiring murder, and doing so while they're stalking the one person whom they've conspired to murder by way of what is also targeting with that police department. I want to document the entity is sounding helicopter activity. It is the Ontario Police Department who are demon possessed. Prosecution of this agency is exposing them as
the Satanists they're actually demon-possessed people who are unfit mentally, and I've also shown how they are unfit for the profession that they are in while they're engaged in criminal activity, proven through the pattern of conduct, and also they are unfit while they're sharing in and incentivizing, facilitating, enabling criminal conduct with a population. These are demons literally that go into law enforcement, that field, in order to get away with and engage in criminal conduct. That's what is making up the entire Ontario Police Department. They are criminals. All right, they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with sex offenders, which they are. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct with stalkers, which they are. All right, the entities engaging in that P.O.C., that's sexual assault and battery by the Ontario Police Department. This is ongoing federal stalking and furtherance of murder by the Ontario Police Department. The entities engaging in what is that pattern of conduct, which is relevant to who are enemies of this country. It does not change regarding the truth of what a gang stalker is. They are not only demons, they are enemies of this country, enemies of the law. They're enemies of law and order. They are enemies of what this country stands for. And this un-American criminal conduct by a police department is establishing what is precedent for disbanding, what is precedent for what is also federal prison for so-called gang stalking police officers, which is an un-American oxymoron, which is going to be met with federal prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. The entity is engaging what is amplifying helicopter activity while a demon is stalking with engineer light. You already know what they're doing, and the Ontario police are doing so while the entity keeps a fake moon over me, which is the evidence of targeting me. And the entity is doing so while they are sounding helicopter activity. These are demons engaging in what is a ritual while they're stalking. So let's get the ongoing evidence confirming that Craig Hazelwood's going to federal prison. Flying over the top of my head, which they've done hundreds of times as I've been documenting it over the years. This is the entity that is mentally ill, and they're also corrupt. They're offenders, and they've been keeping my vagina under surveillance, which is an illegitimate interest by a government that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance and not law enforcement. And the entity, including Craig Hazelwood and Owens, are going to federal prison. What I documented at this bus stop at 12:19 in the morning is the evidence of what is criminal activity, stalking in fact, and also what is to be studied by the rest of you around the world is how criminal monitoring is underway by demons who try to masquerade as normal human beings like myself, who want to try to fit in, but they're not human beings, they're demon possessed. They are filled with, their vessels are filled with the spirit of Satan. And they put on uniforms and they want to be mistaken for what are law-abiding citizens, even with authority under the law, which they don't have, while they are engaging in federal stalking, which is criminal monitoring, demonic activity, demon-possessed gang stalkers who provide evidence that are putting them in prison. And this is going to be played in a courtroom in order to put every gang member of the Ontario police that I documented, put them in prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:53 p.m. That is the Ontario Police who are engaging in what is ongoing stalking as the evidence is being uploaded onto the internet. And that's impossible light activity. That you see what is a sexual assault and battery while I'm being touched at a distance by what are not possibly headlights. While that police department, okay, that's engaged in criminal surveillance, not law enforcement in actuality, are engaging in what are that cooperative act of stalking and harassment in furtherance of murder, okay? The Ontario Police are actually paid stalkers and co-conspirators of murder, and for that they are going to prison. For being demons who are engaging in the pattern of conduct, they will also be subject to mental examinations. The entities engaging in the absurdly demented conduct of a pattern of stalking with helicopters, which is so fantastically unbelievable, but for evidence shown through the P.O.C. and images that you can see with your own eyes, no one would believe that Mike LORENZ is a vagina monitor who's engaged in what is stalking me with regard to a whole pattern of conduct by that agency. But it is true, and this is relevant to what the entity is doing now, monitoring on the devices and engaging in psychopathic pacing, stalking, harassment, and ongoing targeting while the evidence is published online. That's the Ontario Police crossing path in the engineer light under the fake moon, all right, engaging in that while I am covered in what is engineered light. Multiple shadows surround, okay? They're stalking, okay? They're engaging in criminal activity, and while they're engaging in criminal